Welcome to Patscast. I'm Brad Whitaker. Hey, I knew I'd be back, right? Second podcast of the day. The New England Patriots have made a handful of transactions here in the late evening of the first day of the NFL tampering period, which really just means the first day of free agency. The tampering period is an absolute joke. But it all starts with the quarterback position, right? The Patriots are addressing the QB room. Obviously, they traded Mac Jones away for a 6th-round pick to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Looks like Bailey Zappi is there, at least for now. But they are bringing in Jacoby Brissett, former Patriots quarterback, also played some time in Cleveland, most recently with the Washington Commanders, who looks as the presumed bridge quarterback for whomever the next rookie quarterback is coming to New England. And look, I wasn't as high on Brissett. I would have preferred to take Joe Flacco because I think Flacco is going to be able to run that Alex Van Pelt offense a little bit better, as we saw this past season with his comeback player of the year style play, led the Browns to the playoffs, really surprised a lot of people. But Jacoby Brissett is not that bad, right? And everything that people say about him is he's a great mentor. He's a good guy to have in the locker room. Obviously can be a bit of a dual threat, big body, can run the football if need be, can certainly run the tush-push, QB sneaks, all the things you ask him to do. Sort of accurate, has a good arm. He's the kind of quarterback that, look, you're not going to really want long-term, and the Patriots certainly aren't bringing him in for the long-term. But knowing that, hey, I'm going to New England, I'm probably going to get to start week one, it seemed like a no-brainer on his end, and this seemed like a no-brainer for the Patriots as well, bringing in a mentor for the next young rookie quarterback and a guy they can at least depend on going forward. And it looks like the Patriots are going to have at least the most important free agents that were supposedly leaving the team this off season, starting with Hunter Henry. He's back with the Patriots on a 3-year deal. Kendrick Bourne, coming off of an ACL injury, which is a bit of a red flag, but we know Kendrick Bourne has been highly productive, at least his first year in New England. In his 3rd year in New England, he was having a career year before the injury. Good to see him back as well. And we just got word that the Patriots are also re-signing offensive lineman, right guard / right tackle Michael Onwenu. He will be coming to New England again on a $57 million 3-year deal. So roughly $19 million a year. That's about the value some of the top NFL guards are going for. And we don't know if he'll be guard or tackle as of right now, depending on if the Patriots don't make any additional moves. It looks like he'll be back at right tackle with Sidy Sow at right guard and of Cole Strange at left guard if he's back and healthy. Onwenu's deal also, I should note, it's not all guaranteed. It never is. $38 million of that $57 million 3-year deal is guaranteed. So he's making a good buck, and $22.5 million of that contract is coming to him as a signing bonus. So the Patriots look to be off and running this offseason. Look, the most important thing that an NFL team must do heading into an offseason is taking care of the players that you already have on your roster and bringing them back, because most free agency periods don't have a lot of dogs out there, right? They don't have a lot of really great players. The guys that could potentially be leaving tend to be the best players. And look, I'm sure Michael Onwenu had offers, right? It looks like the New York Giants were highly interested, and he had all the reason not to come back to New England. Look, they're rebuilding. They won 4 games this past season. However, Patriots were willing to fork up the cash. And look, I thought they might have to do 20, 21, 22 million a year, and they got him for 19, and not all of it's guaranteed. So it's good to see Michael Onwenu back. If he's at right tackle, you know you're going to have a competent guy there on the right sideline. Still got to figure out the left side, whether they're able to snag Tyron Smith in free agency or Jonah Williams in free agency, or pick up a tackle somewhere during the NFL draft. There's a lot of, like, almost a dozen first-round caliber tackles this draft, which means some of those guys are going to leak into the 2nd round, meaning the Patriots could potentially get a starting caliber left tackle, even with the 34th overall pick. So they're in a good spot. I hope they opt for Tyron Smith. Jonah Williams, though, a little bit more versatile. And if they can add some depth on both sides of the offensive line, then they're in a position to kick back Michael Onwenu to the right guard position. Then you're really cooking with gas, right? Because Michael Onwenu is an all-pro level guard. He's probably a Pro Bowl level right tackle. I'm taking this from Greg Bedard. These are not my thoughts, but that's what he says, and I trust him more than just about anyone else. But Michael Onwenu on the right side. Hopefully David Andrews is back. There's also Trent Brown. Not too excited about him, but worst case scenario under Gerard Mayo and a healthier locker room, maybe you could get a little more out of him as well. But looks like the Patriots are really prioritizing bringing back the guys that are important. Kyle Duggar likely coming back under the transitional tag unless the team is really willing to pay up for him. And the Patriots would have an opportunity to match whatever offer comes Duggar's way, which I would think they would do. Josh Uche on the defensive side looks to be gone. That's not much of a surprise considering he mostly played on third down. So I'm not too shocked about that. They can afford to move forward without Onwenu. They also lost Mack Wilson, who really was finding his stride late in the season. That was a tough loss, but the Patriots looks like they found a decent backup plan for losing Mack Wilson. They are signing Sione Takitaki. I don't know a lot about the guy. Spent all of his career in Cleveland, about 6'1", 240-pound linebacker. At that size, ran a 4.63 40, which I guess is decent for a guy that thick. And has picked up, looking at his career stats, 4 seasons in Cleveland. Looks like he's played, 30, 45, 57 games recorded, just 2 sacks. So not going to be rushing the quarterback once at all, really. 1 interception and number of solo tackles, 112, 203 combined tackles. So it looks to be some pretty decent numbers there. If you know more about this Takitaki fellow, let me know in the comments below. But he seems to be their backup plan. So the Patriots at least are filling that slot that Mack Wilson seemed to fulfill. Now, I'm not sure this means the Patriots will not be taking a quarterback at number 3 overall. In all likelihood, Caleb Williams is going number 1. He'll be off the board to the Chicago Bears. Looks like Jaden Daniels, who everyone seems to love nowadays, including myself, is going to go probably number 2 to the Washington Commanders. So that leaves Drake May. And Drake May seems to be plummeting in terms of his draft stock, and sounds like some scouts within the Patriots organization not super high on May right now. And J.J. McCarthy seems to be moving up as well. A lot of people think he might be the 3rd best quarterback in this draft. Not sure you want to spend the number 3 overall pick on a guy like J.J. McCarthy, even though I really like him more than most. He's a tough guy. I think Drake May's tough too, though. However, with this Jacoby Brissett acquisition, in all likelihood, that quarterback, whether it's J.J. McCarthy, whether it's Drake May, whether it's somebody else, will be sitting on the bench at the very least week 1 while Jacoby Brissett takes over the starting role and either finishes the season in that role as a mentor to that young rookie. You still got Bailey Zappi there as well. Or maybe that young rookie or Zappi, if Brissett doesn't play well, takes over at some point during the season. But I'm going to say this again, and I said this on the morning podcast. I've said this a number of times on this podcast. The Patriots really have to consider drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, right now, the Jacksonville Jaguars, it looks like they signed Gabe Davis. They've signed some people to play wide receiver, and it doesn't look like they are going to be bringing back Calvin Ridley. Yeah, Gabe Davis, 3-year, $39 million deal. Going to the Jaguars. I think they're planning to move on for Ridley, which puts the Patriots as the presumable favorite to draft probably the top free agent wide receiver, at least heading into this NFL offseason. But Calvin Ridley is maybe a top 30, top 40 wide receiver. He is not a number 1 guy for most good NFL teams. And I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is a guaranteed number 1 guy. I think he's better than Calvin Ridley, even coming out of college as a rookie. Dare I say, I think he's better than T. Higgins, who's been a number 2 in Cincinnati. I think he's better than Brandon Ayuk, who hasn't really been a number 1 in San Francisco. I guess you could consider him a number one because they have Debo and he's kind of a hybrid guy, but you also have Kittle out there. So whichever way you slice it. But I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is a once-in-a-generation wide receiver. And you pair him with Jacoby Brissett, with Kendrick Bourne, with Hunter Henry, with Demario Douglas coming into year two, hopefully puts on a little bit of weight, looks to be the slot receiver of the future. Really would have been even better had Belichick not thrown him in the doghouse after he fumbled in week two. I think that's a pretty damn good offense with Marvin Harrison Jr., even though you don't have an elite quarterback there. And if you do that, then you're going to have to opt for one of the later quarterbacks, right? You're going to have to go for a Bo Nix or a Michael Penix Jr. Maybe J.J. McCarthy slips. Maybe you can sneak back into the first round and get him. I would love that. That would be my plan if possible. But McCarthy may be a top 10 guy. As of right now, it looks like he probably is. Really like Spencer Rattler. Needs to sit on the bench for a year because he is very raw. But watch the tape. He's pretty good. And they could also bring in Roman Wilson or Xavier Legette and really extend that receiving core. And don't forget about Kayshon Boutte. Who knows? Like maybe he develops a little bit more in year two. We saw Devontae Parker was released. Good for the Patriots actually pulling the trigger on that move. And maybe you can get a little juice out of Juju Smith-Schuster. Who knows if he can stay on the field. But obviously he's not the same guy he was at Pittsburgh and even in Kansas City, but maybe you can get a little bit out of him as well. But look, I think so far Elliott Wolf deserves a B, right? He hasn't made a big splash, made a big move. Maybe they get Calvin Ridley, who I'm not as high on. At least they're swinging for a big name receiver. Then you give him an A. But he brought back all the important pieces, probably bringing back Kyle Duggar as well. And now you got something, right? You got the bridge QB in Jacoby Brissett. Going to love playing in New England. I think he's going to thrive. Played with Alex Van Pelt before. Seen a lot of highs, a lot of lows out of Brissett, particularly the last time he played the Patriots. But we know there's a lot you can do with him as a dual threat, tough power quarterback who can do a lot of different things and going to certainly serve as a good mentor. But I say you got to pull the trigger on Marvin Harrison Jr. at this point. And I've never been a guy. It's interesting. Like I've never been a guy that says wide receivers should be drafted in the first round, and we hear all the adage, it's a dessert, not an entree, all that crap, but it's a different league now, and the Patriots haven't had a real number one guy since Randy Moss. So I hope they consider it, and especially if they're not high on Drake May, if they're not high on J.J. McCarthy, and they think they have an opportunity at Penix or Nix or Rattler, and they really like one of those guys, thinks he can sit for a year and develop and be the guy of the future, I think that's the best plan. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you like the moves Elliott Wolf has made so far? What would you like to see happen? Are you really into bringing in Calvin Ridley? Or you don't really want to spend the money on a guy who's a marginal number one guy like I do? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to this channel, like this video, share it with your friends, yada, yada, yada. And we'll be back tomorrow with more Pats Cast coverage, or hell, maybe even later tonight, if the Patriots make even more moves.